Bet you never seen one of those before, huh? Well, neither have I. Hey guys, how's it going? So, a local subscriber came by and dropped off some presents, and he works at one of the town dumps. And this was thrown in the pile. He also dropped off another machine, but that's for another date. But this thing, other than looking like a spaceship, is... I just noticed the name. I thought it was a power smoker, power maker. It is a little alien spaceship that is supposed to be a generator. It looks like it's running like a AH-47 motor, which is that common two-stroke that Tecumseh made. I think it was Tecumseh. And it looks like it's got some kind of power source that converts it from that plug over to this one. You know as much as I do about it right now, because I've done nothing but put it on the bench. I don't even know if it turns. So I figured we'd go make a video about it, see what it is, dissect it, possibly get it running. So let's get you set up in a camera, get yourself a snack and a beverage, relax, enjoy. Let's go have some fun working with old rusty junk. Yeah, let's get that cord out of the way. And let's see if it... oh, I think it moved a hair. Alright. Either that or the pull start was just falling apart. So it is locked up. It does... oof. Hold on. It's going to be a fun one. That rusty looking mud stuff down in there is our fuel. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. I say maybe we get that cover off of there and get down, get the pull start off. That way we can kind of possibly turn it backwards. Actually, let's flip it over on its side. See what the generator part of it looks like. We haven't even taken a peek underneath it yet. Well, that's different. Look at all that stuff. Back when safety was not a priority, apparently. You could just reach up inside and stick your fingers in the thing. I wonder if they had a cover. No, because it's got a fan. Air's got to be able to flow through it. So there was no cover underneath it. Back when men were men and they lived to the age of 40. That's just starting out Jim Dandy. Glad that one went. Looks like it had a repair tag or something on it at some point. There's a... that one's got a Phillips, and these are going to need some help. Well, there you go. Some bones. Where's the rest of them? That's not a good sign. I had a bone. You didn't expect to see that, did you? You feel it bouncing through the poles of the magnet. That's weird. Well, good. Turns. It is a 2-stroke, so there's no gas to deal with. You want to get the... We should probably just take the gas tank right off anyway, get a better look at what we got happening. We're probably going to spin it with a drill. We got to deal with that carb, and we got to see if we have spark. So I'm going to go 1, 2, looks like 2 more on the back side here. We'll get this whole gas tank up out of our way and get it drained anyway. The tag. This engine is specially designed and built for Electron Industries Incorporated by Tecumseh. Couple of fuzzies came out of it. Definitely the home of somebody. Taking an air gun, go blow some of this crap off. We'll get a plug out of it, and give her a spin. See if it has any spark. Plug's new. Let's see. It makes little sparkles for us though. And no, I normally don't struggle this much, but I'm trying to do it so you can see it in the camera. No spark. I wonder if it has a kill switch on it somewhere. Actually, no, this is the kill switch right here. That's a no. And actually, was that touching? Hold on. Hold on. Do over. Nope. No sparkies. Going in. Something's looking a little wacky. This is not down much on the threads. It actually looks like something's weird there, that this should be coming up further. Wrong nut. Maybe the nut's on upside down. I don't know. And then the washer is kicked out, hanging out of the one side. So someone's definitely been in there before us. Yeah, that's not catching threads by much. I don't see. Could you put it on upside down? That's exactly what it was. It was just on. Not on the right direction. That doesn't give us much hope for the rest of what we're going to go find. All right, I'm going to go grab a little bit of a pry bar, put some pressure underneath there, and give it a whack in the center. See if she pops. Got points. Anything out of the ordinary, but I would suspect that that is what our issue is. Let's get this cover off. And can we turn it from the bottom? I'm trying to put it on the high right there. They're opening. They do look a little cruddy though. Looking right there. Yeah, I'm going to run a file across that a little bit and pop it back on, see if it comes back. Where's the condenser? Right here. See if it has. Just look at the wiring where it's going. Just one going to the condenser and one going to the points coming off the coil. What's that? Governor? It's our governor. Oh yeah. You can get a little piece of emery, fold it over and give that a little better cleaning than that. So I kind of not want to guess, keep taking it apart and putting it together, whether it has an open and closed signal. I actually should have probably done this before too to see if it was our issue. But the points are open right now and the meter is showing that it's open. I'm going to turn it to the points closed. Hopefully the meter doesn't fall off. And it should go to a closed circuit, and it does. Straight zeros now. So open and closed, we could probably do it with our fingers too. You can watch the meter. Open. Closed, open, closed. All right, so we know that the signal coming out of the points is good. I did that with the condenser disconnected too, condenser magneto, because it'll show kind of a ground out to that. Not saying that they are good, but they will definitely interfere with what we are trying to do. All right, so I'm gonna go put all that back together. I'm gonna go put the cover back on. I'm gonna put a little dab of grease on that pad. Eyeball that gap. I think the gap's okay though. It looks pretty decent. See, that needs to go straight down. That's how it was. Yeah, I'm gonna eyeball the gap, put some grease on it, put the cover on it, put the mag back on it, spin it, see if we get spark. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Let's go give her. Wrong gun. That's a hammer drill. There we go. That works for me. You know what time it is, don't you? Let's go give a little in there. Let's see which way does it have a choke. Choke's open. Throttle's kinda enough to get air in anyway. Let's go give her a little spin with the drill. It cost a life. All right. I wonder if, let's go put a plug setup in this, that plug thing that came with it, and plug a light in it. We'll try it again. We'll see if the light goes to light up at all. That is an awesome sign. Cool. What we want to do, we should probably get that carburetor off there and get a good look and see what's going on inside. Let's go take that apart and see what we got. And is there a way to look at orientation? We're going to go call it the center of the writing facing the fuel neck, the fuel inlet. Don't screw me up, try telling me different later. Now, hopefully this diaphragm is not as solid as a brick and it's nice and pliable, because I do not have one. At least that one I'm aware of. Gingerly. That was gingerly. Just stabbed it with a... Alright. That was not exactly my plan. And it's kind of stiff. Yeah. See how it kind of pops into place? We're gonna run what we brung though. We'll try it. We got to lose, right? Definitely looks like, I think the oil, like two-stroke oil, if it sits for a long period of time, I think it just settles down, because I see a lot of carbs, two-stroke carbs, where this, I don't say it's the gas evaporated and left the oil behind, it's just too much oil for that. I think it kind of, maybe it's a little heavier and it sinks down. Let's go get them out. All right, the big one's 1, it's a half rather. 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, let's call it 3. Push 3 out. Let's add a little more than normal, and that might be also because the diaphragm was stiff and it's not metering as much fuel as it should. And the other thing is, the oil's so thick it can't really pull it through the jets. I didn't count that one, did I? Oops. Okay, what we got going on in that goo hole? We'll blast the air. Oh, sorry. Steady. Nothing. You don't see, but that should not come out of there. Yeah, it should be all one unit. I'm going to clean it up and check that in a little bit. So we suck our air fuel in through there, and it continues its path, I guess. Alright, let's go give this a bath in the cleaner. This. Yeah, it's just a little too far gone. I'd like to see a little bit more pliable than that. A couple people say different things to try to soak them in, but I haven't had any luck with anything yet. Well, because I know it won't hurt it, let's just go for some pre-mixed gas. We'll just throw that in there and let it soak in it. And that's what goes through it anyway. I mean, just this doesn't have any ethanol. I was kind of wondering, like maybe like a leather rejuvenator, something along those lines. But truthfully, just need a new one. Well, that's soaking. Let's take a gander at what's happening in the fuel system here. It's a lovely shade of something. It's like a almost like pukes and turds mixed together. The inside of the tank actually looks pretty good though. Man, tank's awesome. That's good. Here's the filter right there. I'm gonna go rinse that out. Get all the goodness out of it. Go rinse that out and clean the tank up a little bit. We're not cleaning any paint or anything. And get rid of that. Here it was. It was a hunk of solder. So it might have a leak. Alright, let's go clean that up. We'll grab the pull start. We might as well clean the pull start. And what else do we got? We'll bring a thing over too for the body of it. We'll just kind of rinse the outside of that down a little bit. .115 volts. Watts, all I see is one something. Cycles 360. 360 cycle? Make any sense? 60 cycle. That looks like a 3 in front though. A serial number. Alternator model. FAD something 151. Let's say DC. It says AC and DC. Can't be both, not without a switch, right? Only one plug. If power to light, I think it's AC. Yeah. Cycles 360. Watts. Can't be much. Starts with a 1. That looks like a 1. If it is a 1, 1000 watt? Maybe. I don't know. I would say it's a decent sized motor. It's like a 4-horse motor. Maybe. Hard to say. Somebody will be telling me, won't you? You'll be looking that up saying it's a this, that with this. Good. I'll let everybody else know. I got the top cleaned off. It really doesn't look all that much different. Let's go look under his skirt, see what's going on down below. It looks like he's got the feet are suction cups, like you were pulling the dent out. I wonder if you're supposed to like stick it down to like a fixed surface. I wonder if like this was used maybe camping. And what are these? What are these? They got power running through these. It's got a posi on one side. What would they be? They're not really, I don't see, well maybe they're heat sinks. I do see a, like, I'm not sure what that is. A rectifier. It's plugs, caps. I believe the magnets are going to be on the outside and stator on the inside. Not quite sure what we got going on here. There's a plus and a negative. Do you connect to those for positive? That's weird. Would you physically clamp on to positive and negative underneath? For the AC, for the DC part of it? Right? It's got a posi and a negative on it. Would you take like jumper cables? I have no idea. I'm just guessing. You're just guessing too. You don't know. You would think there would be some like posts going through. That's an isolator. But you'd think there would be some kind of, well, there's not much in the way of protection, huh? Here's the metal shell. Look how close that sucker is. One dent. And it's gonna bite you. Yeah, that's metal. That's not even coated really with anything other than paint. Alright. Yeah, I wonder if you're supposed to maybe grab these posts and do something. I wonder if it's different. I was going to say different voltages too. Could it be like 12 across one and another 12 over here? Because it does say something for... Oh, it doesn't want to focus. What's that say right there? Can't tell you much of anything, can it? It's a better view than before, though. It does. I think it says 115 and possibly something on DC. I had that carb soaking for a while. All that crap that came off of that. It was 2-stroke gas as it was, but it wasn't that dark. You notice the original one too, because it's still got paint. Yeah, that's not going to want to play well. That needs to kind of move fluid. Think of that as like the needle and seat. And that's supposed to float real easy by there, but it's just popping into the two locations. We're going to move forward. And if it goes belly up, then possibly I have another carburetor around somewhere so we can steal it out of it. Alright, we said everything was pointing up towards the... I don't think it matters. There is a cricket in here if you listen closely. There's also a fan running in the background, but can you hear him? And the problem is every time you walk close to him to get him, he shuts up. Played hide and seek. And he's been in here for 2 days. Yeah, I'm not giving that. So right now we should be able to blow into that carb because there's no fuel in it. And then it stopped. That's not good. Because now that literally means it won't take any gas right now. So it gets pushed the other way. Yeah. Let's get the valve stuck. Nope. You gotta figure this thing is from the 70s. It looks like 70s, doesn't it? So. Yeah, the needle pops up. I'm gonna take a quick peek, see if I can go find one. Right tight. Let's see if this one has anything to offer any better. Get under there. think I'm gonna have to go get a little scraper. Depends, it feels like it's full of fluid on the other side. Hard to tell. Maybe. It's even worse. I decided to put them in hot water and see if we can get the pliability back. They keep floating and sinking. At least one of them does. I like my medium well anyway. That's the original one. Neither one is good, but let's go try this one. See what we get. I'll throw that back together and see what happens. So I got a piece of fuel line on it, and the gas is right up there. I don't know if you can see it. Of course, it's not taking it, but let's go give it a little poke in its funky spot. And it should. Yeah, it's down to there now. So it may run for a second and die. The thing is, will it stay running? Which I kind of doubt. Alright, we need a drill, a socket, and we'll give it choke. Too much gas. See what it does. Out of gas. Gotta go fill the bottle up and we'll go give it another shot. So I put the flywheel back off again. I was kind of looking at the governor setup and how it's hooked up and what it's supposed to do. And it looks like somebody ran the idle speed screw way up, but it's sitting against the hammer, and right now it actually should probably be about right there, and then as it revs up, kind of close up the gap and maintain whatever RPM it's supposed to be, which I would think is be 3600 RPM. So I also think it is missing maybe a spring that went from here to here and kind of helped it, is my guess. It's common, or somebody went, like we know somebody was already in here, so Possibly the linkage is just maladjusted. But it's definitely going to be an issue. It's not going to run at 3600 RPM when it's just sitting on the idle stop like that. Again, as the load changes, as you plug stuff into it and the load goes up and down, the engine has to compensate for that. The more power you use, the more throttle it's got to give, and then when you back off, how much power you draw on it, it kind of hangs more towards idle side of thing. And that's what the governor does, but right now it's already sitting on idle, so I don't see how that's going to help us, unless I'm missing something. But I would think that tab is there for a reason, and I would think it's probably adjustable. You probably rotate it more and less. Yeah, it's got a bolt on it, so you can kind of change the angle of it, and that would affect how much RPM it is. This would be your RPM adjustment with another link going back there. Yeah, let me go see if I can find a light spring of some sort to go across. The fan running in the background. Let's go give her a shot, see what it does. Just need a regular screwdriver with a little tweaking. The nut walked off. I was trying to get the nut back on. I don't want the flywheel to come up on us. We'll top her off with gas again. And the RPMs are still too low though. That spring's not tough enough. Alright, so what's happening is it's getting too much gas. That diaphragm is not regulating like it should. It's just not moving. So no matter what I was doing with the screws, when you run them out is rich, you run them in is lean, meaning less gas you run them in, more gas you run them out. So I would run them in almost all the way bottomed out, and it was still breaking up and stuttering and coughing and farting. But when the gas started running out, now it's running out of fuel in that area, and it starts to starve, and now the mix kind of comes back into its own. That's when it revved back up again. So unfortunately we can't do anything until we get a decent diaphragm. I'm going to do a little bit of shopping tomorrow and see if I can find one local. If not, I'll have to shelf this until I can get one in the mail. But hopefully we can keep going on this one, get this on there, dial in the RPM and get that governor part of it working, and I think it'll be a functioning unit. So it's a few days later. I'm not quite sure where I left off as far as filming. I think the last thing, we were trying to get it to run, but it just wasn't having it. Even at full throttle, I couldn't get it to run at 3600 RPM. And 3600 is what generates 60 hertz frequency, which you want for power coming out. Hence that number. Anyway, so I was trying to play with it. It was flooding itself over, and then as the fuel ran out, it would start to lean up and, you know, rev up and then die. So you just couldn't adjust the carb. Anyway, it needs a carb kit. We have a carb kit. I ordered some on the internet. They're going to be another 4 or 5 days away, but this one was local, so We're gonna go throw just the diaphragm in there. We'll change just that. We'll see what kind of change we get with doing that, just for, I guess, educational purposes, without getting into, you know, changing jets, the needle and seat. And if it does continue on, we'll swap each part out so we figure out what it was. How's that? All right, get that carburetor off of there and go swap a diaphragm. Yeah, screws are out of it. Let's see if we can get. That. It's a tad bit more pliable than the one that's in there. Which is that. Can you even hear it? And this one's just like paper. So it's really soft. And the diaphragm can just move real easy. Watch it not take care of the problem. So the gasket goes on the inside. So the gasket, that, and some screws. Yeah, I'm gonna take that spring. Actually, I'm gonna get a little bit tougher one, and we got to give it a little bit more pull. That's what I was doing. I was yanking on the spring a little bit, seeing how the RPMs were gonna come up. I'm gonna get that. So it's kind of in the ballpark of what I think 3,600 RPMs is, and then we need to put a load on it, see if it will compensate for the load. Compensating for the load, and that's what I was looking for. That might be a little bit better selection of. We're gonna go something like that. Feels pretty good. So I got a little strip right there and a RPM meter that you shine it. It's got an LED in it, picks it up, sees what the RPM is. Let's go see what we get. I got another spring on there too. It was around 1600, 1700. It's about half of what it needs to be. So I got to go rev it up. I'm going to go take this little pivot point right here, loosen it, turn it a little bit, and get some adjustment out of it. I also got to figure out what I launched across the room. Something shot that way that was red. It was a red sticker. See if we could just physically get it to move. There we go. Let's go right there. We still got carb issues. Well, I don't really see anything with the the needle and seat or the weight of the spring. It's got a little bit of crap in it, but I don't see that really being our issue. I'm going to put new in anyway, but I think I may try, if you look at this one, the gasket's on this side of the diaphragm, not on the back side. But I am going to go try putting the diaphragm down first, then the gasket in the bracket. And what that does is it changes the position that the diaphragm is pushing on the needle. It's essentially moving the whole plate up and down, and that will push it a little bit closer to the pin. And I am not that familiar with these carbs. I'm better with stuff that has a float bowl, but I believe it's supposed to have, you're supposed to be able to blow fuel in it in its resting position. I have not been able to do that with the old one or the new one. And what I was doing was I would tickle it through the hole just for a second, and that pushes down, opens the valve, and allows a little bit of fuel to fill up in this area, and then it was running. But I have a feeling that might be backwards. Let's go find out. You should never make two changes at the same time, because you don't know which one fixed it. So, well, my better judgment tells me I should try that the other direction, because I did not see anything in the needle and seat. We are going to put it back together the same way that one came out. We'll see what happens. Okay, so it's new needle and seat. Gasket is still in the same location it was on the original one that is on there. I do know it's missing a spring. This is the low speed idle air fuel mix. This is the high speed air fuel mix. It's got an H over here. Sometimes there's an L on the other side. Anyway, low, high. So when you rev it up, you're adjusting this one. When you're at an idle, you're kind of adjusting this one. And what the spring does, it holds down the packing where the O-ring is. If not, you get a little bit of leaking around there, but that, I don't think that's causing our issue. Let's go put it back on. I think it's going to run the same, is my guess. What do you think? Sure? All right, let's go find out. Still won't start, but over the we go and push on the little diaphragm underneath, I'll watch the fuel level go down. Just did. To the point where it's pissing out of the carb. Let's see what that does. I'm gonna try working with that spring, get a little bit more tension on it, get the RPMs up, and then we'll give it maybe a better fuel source and let it run a little bit. I got a much heavier spring on it. Let's see what it does. Goes the run away, I just gotta hit the kill, ground out the coil wire. That's 22. I'm gonna give it some more. I'm gonna cut that spring in half and get rid of half of it. At least that got us in the realm of where it'll run correctly. So I made the pivot go way back to where it was. I had it straight out, pulling on the spring as much as possible. But shortened it up. Again, the weight of the spring makes a big difference too, and I just don't know what it's supposed to be. I don't have what was on there. So the thickness of the wire or how much pull that it has greatly affects how much it is assisting the governor. So we're just kind of poking and hoping and trying and sneaking up on it to see where it'll go. I can only run so long because the cooling fan is not on it. You see it's getting hot. I'm gonna let her cool off a couple of minutes. We're gonna go fill it up one more time. Try to just dial in that idle speed a little bit better. Maybe we can get the gas tank on it, hook a fuel line up to it, run some fuel, and we'll just let it run a little bit and see how it does. I think we're getting close though. We might have it. Might. I ran it. I know what, let's go choke it. I want to see if the choke will pull that diaphragm open to allow fuel to go through. Now let it go. Definitely getting a lot closer. We're at 3,400 RPM right now. All right, I'm gonna go put it all back together, and I think we can work with what we have there to get it dialed in. Hey, I didn't say it worked well. I just said it's gonna work. How's that? We got her. Got her pretty much dialed in. Not quite sure on the RPMs. I could put a meter up to it and we can kind of read on that. But I think we're gonna leave pretty much well enough alone. I think it does exactly what it should. Burn off all the crap that's on it. Nice, I got an air filter cut out for it. What do I do with it? It's on a bench somewhere. Right there. Then I gotta find a little metal cover for the facing of it. I might have one. I tried looking this thing up. Hold on, I'll bring you back in a second. Let me get the place aired out and we'll turn the fan off and we can have a chat. Just want to put a heavier load on it. I wanted to make sure that RPMs weren't going to drop way down. It seems like it's doing like it should. The foam was shooting out of the buffing pad. It's getting ready to let go. I haven't used that in a while. So we'll just go over a few things. I added the spring that was for the low air fuel mix, and that just kind of keeps a preload on the O-ring and the metal washer. Keeps leaking. Keeps it from leaking in there. It also kind of keeps tension on the screw so the screw doesn't want to vibrate and turn on its own. And the main already has that one on, or the high speed already has that on it. We redid the diaphragm and then we redid the needle and seat. I don't think it was a needle and seat issue. I think I was just kind of misunderstanding what was supposed to be happening with the carburetor. It would make sense that when the engine is not running, that the diaphragm and the needle seat are in the off position, because you would not want fuel just to be flowing through it from the tank when it's not running. So I think it receives a vacuum pulse signal that it kicks that diaphragm to allow for fuel to come in and fill that that chamber, lack of better terms. And that it was working correctly, and then when you go and you choke it, you kind of give even more vacuum and maybe gives you that charge of fuel kind of coming through it. So all that seems to be working okay. I was questioning where the gasket went. Did it go on either side of the seal? Generally, it goes up between the carburetor and then the gasket and then the diaphragm, because that's the area that you want sealed real good. You don't want any leaking coming around between the carburetor and the seal, because that's where all the fuel is. On the other side of it, there's really nothing there. It's just air. It's just open to air. So there's nothing really to leak on the backside of that. So I did kind of question that. I have seen it the other way around, that you assemble them in a different fashion. And again, that kind of changes where that needle and seat, where the pin of the needle seat and here's the diaphragm, you're just changing the height of how much you're influencing that. So that can change things up. But apparently it was good the way it was. The adjustments are kind of in all the way. I'm not familiar with this carb setup, so it could be just the way they are, but they're both from like 1/2 to 3/4 out. Usually they're like 1.5, 2 turns out is the window where they like to operate. This just seems to be in a closer to the almost bottomed out space. When you run them out, they run rich. When you run them in, it runs lean. On a 2-stroke, you kind of want to favor on the rich side of things. It keeps them from burning up. They'll run really good for a little while, but you kind of want to run them on the rich side. And what I mean by that is when you heard I was running it, and it was kind of like breaking up, and then would run smooth, breaking up and run smooth. And if I run it all the way in, it would run super smooth, but that's really lean. Although it sounds good, and it's kind of counterintuitive, you want to kind of just bring it right to where it's like ba 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 ba, and it runs smooth. You just want to get it right to where it's on that running smooth part of it. Chainsaws are the same way too. It kind of keeps them running cooler. Although they'll make power for a short period of time, they will eventually burn up, unfortunately. So that was that. The thing was dancing around all over the place. It has suction cups on the bottom, but the suction cups are, they're pretty much petrified at this point and cracked, and they are not going to stick to any kind of surface. I think the idea is you go, you push the whole thing down, and then you got little tabs here you can lift up on it and break the vacuum. So I was having to hold it. Eventually I put a couple of magnets in the corners to hold it in its place. So I think it's pretty cool. I've never seen one before. I tried looking it up on the internet. Nothing came up. The company came up in one listing. It said nothing about this machine. I even put the serial number, the part, the model number, the name. Nothing really kind of came up on it. So I don't think they made very many of them. There might have been a good reason for that too. The company seems like it was like defense, like military defense machines is what they made, was their primary stuff, but nothing came up on this at all. So it is definitely an oddball. I would definitely call it the spaceship of generators. I put the big grinder on it, a bigger grinder on it instead of a light bulb, to see how the load was, and I wanted to listen to it. I wanted to see if when I put the load on, did the RPMs drop way down? If so, I would have had to work with the pivot points on the governor to adjust them to give more or less throttle in different scenarios, but it seemed like it was fine. It seemed like it maintained it. It's probably a little bit low. It's probably about 3,500 RPM instead of 36, but I'm just gonna leave it right where it is. It seems like it does just fine. Well, that's it, guys. It's definitely a cool one. It's the first one I've ever had that had a bone stuffed in it and stopped it from being turning. That was different. Somebody was there again ahead of us with the spring missing, and the idle speed was run all the way in. That's kind of indicative somebody was having a problem getting it running, and what they did was they just ran a screw in. It had no governor adjustment on it whatsoever. It was just kind of running at a certain RPM and making power. I guess if you're running lights, I guess it doesn't really matter so much, but now it's back into doing what it's supposed to be doing. So you think? You like it? I think it's pretty cool. It would be cool for like I don't know if it'd be cool for running, but like if you have a antique RV and you have like an antique RV show and you want to go set that outside as like your power source for it as far as a display. I think the neighbors get kind of pissed. It's fairly loud, but it has that look to it like you would have been camping in the late 60s, early 70s, and that would have been powering your dial-up phone. All right, guys, with that, I'm going to go sign off. I want to thank all you guys for hanging out with me and getting a little education. I got myself a little education. I had to think about it a little bit, but it was a fun one to work on. So, till the next one, I'll see you later. Bye. Cold start the next morning. Let's see what happens.